welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Now, consumer goods company Reckitt Benckiser Group PLC exceeded its 2015 target as it benefited from strong growth in its health products range. The company reported revenue for the year ended December 31st, up by 6% from the previous year on a comparable basis, excluding factors such as acquisitions. The company previously targeted 5% growth. Net profit fell to £1.74 billion from £3.2 billion the previous year, when the company benefited from the disposal of its pharmaceutical business. Now, total revenue rose to £8.87 billion British pounds from £8.84 billion, and the final dividend was up 12% at 88.7 pence. According to the chief executive, Rakesh Kapoor, the company is targeting comparable revenue growth of 4% to 5% for 2016. And the mood inside the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries is shifting from mistrust to a growing consensus that a decision must be reached on how to end the global oil price rout. Now, this is the view of Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources during an interview with Reuters. According to Mr. Kachuku, Ibe Kachuku, he is optimistic ahead of OPEC's next meeting in a few months.
Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum, Emmanuel Ibe Kachuku, said he wants to increase output up to 2.5 million barrels per day by the end of 2016. Currently, the OPEC member pumps 2.3 million barrels per day. President Muhammadu Buhari has made reforming the oil sector a priority as a slump in oil prices hammers the economy. The former military ruler has fired the NNPC board and appointed Kachuku to overhaul a company whose opaque structures have allowed corruption and oil theft to flourish. Nigeria's oil and gas output has been relatively stagnant as big offshore projects have been held up by much delayed government funding and uncertainty over fiscal terms. Africa's biggest economy produces oil with foreign and local firms through production sharing contracts and joint ventures, but investments have been held up because NNPC has been unable to pay its part. Bills have been piling up since 2012. Kachuku said debt as of November stood at $3.5 to $4 billion, which NNPC wanted to cut through deals such as a $1.2 billion multi-year drilling financing signed with Chevron in October.
There's increased conversations going on. I mean, I think when we met in December, you had blocks that were hardly talking to one another. Everybody was protecting their own positional logic. Now I think you're having cross logic. People are saying, what's the deficiency in your logic versus what is the optimum side of your logic? So people are talking a lot more intellectually now.
Kachuku said debt as of November stood at $3.5 to $4 billion, which NNPC wanted to cut through deals such as a $1.2 billion multi-year drilling financing signed with Chevron in September.
We haven't been able to be sure that if we hold those meetings, we can actually walk away with some consensus. And in the absence of that, we didn't think we should. We thought that given what was happening in terms of it's a very funny dynamic because a lot of barrels are tumbling out after the market from non-OPEC members. So the Saudi philosophy is obviously working. But again, it's not influencing, however, the pricing, which means that whether we like it or not, some barrels are also coming in, which may be overproduction by members and non-members to cover up whatever is going out. But have we gotten to a point where we can say there is a definite strategy, whether it's in terms of product volume reduction out of or in terms of freezing? No, I don't think we've gotten there. But there is a lot of energy and something. And as you get closer to what is the statutory meeting date, June being the one for next OPEC meeting, you're going to see a lot more people get active, in those conversations and trying to find solutions before we get to the real meeting, and that's beginning to happen.
NNPC was also looking into revamping joint ventures with local firms to boost productivity, but this will depend on the Petroleum Industry Bill, a project to revamp the sector held up in Parliament for years. Kachuku said NNPC was in talks with the Senate to speed up the process by splitting the PIB into 3 parts, covering governance, taxation, and business items such as oil block licensing. NNPC would also restructure strategic alliance agreements held by Atlantic Energy to raise funds for oil blocks sold by Royal Dutch Shell.
Okay, let's give more perspectives to the developments in the global oil market, as we're now being joined by the Group Chief Executive of Shoreline Group, Mr. Kola Karim. Good afternoon, Mr. Karim.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the program. I'm sure you will have listened to that report. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Ibe Kachuku, said that he would like output to be increased from 2.3 million barrels per day to 2.5 million barrels. What's your position on this, despite the already oversupplied market?
I think the Honourable Minister is right, because what is critical for Nigeria today is one, sustaining production and also increasing production in the short term, because Nigeria, being a receiving end, needs the income as in the taxation revenues into the national coffers.
Now, there is a challenge of piled up debt since 2012, according to reports in the oil industry here in the country. Big offshore projects have been held up by much delayed government funding and uncertainty over fiscal terms. Now, the NNPC boss is seeking funding for the country's oil assets. How do you think he should go about this?
I think what is critical is what the minister said, the evaluation of what options and the various options open to government in being able to tackle the funding mismatch. One, Nigeria as a country with a national oil commonwealth has a very attractive position into the global financial market, which has been untapped for years. If you take the offshore partnerships as an example, has been proposed there a lot of sophisticated ways of funding and funding models today in the global markets available to Nigeria by NNPC in being able to tackle these partnerships with and like all other sovereign national oil companies. An example is looking at the Petronas and the Petrobras model. They've been able to run their businesses with their own separate balance sheets, but at the same time answerable to their national governments. That is a way forward. If you look at the local joint ventures, as been mentioned by the Honourable Minister, again, there are opportunities that the recent pricing downturn is giving and showing, opening itself to government, will help adjust sector. The local Nigerian banks have been very, very forthcoming.
Okay, we've actually lost touch with Mr. Kola Karim there. Okay, if you can still hear me. Okay, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, if you can just, in 1 or 2 minutes, just quickly talk to us about the plans by the NNPC to speed up the process of the PIB. It actually has a plan of splitting the PIB into 3 parts, covering governance, taxation, and business items, such as oil block licensing. Now, how fast do you think that this can be achieved, knowing fully well that the National Assembly is yet to pass the 2016 budget?
Look, what is very, very important is the activities being set in motion, making sure this is split into 3. That will, in effect, separate the action lines that needs to be taken. Number 1 and critical is looking at the licensing in itself, but also the terms left around the licenses and the taxation. These are the 2 critical indices that drive investment and the attractiveness of Nigeria vis-a-vis other competing countries and nations attracted and trying to attract investments into their fray. And this is critical and important for the minister and for the government to push out to the world. And we're now serious. Our oil and gas sector is open to international business and also open to local investments within and around the Nigerian sector.
Okay, Mr. Karim, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Mr. Kola Karim is the Chief Executive of the Group Chief Executive of Shoreline Group. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll bring you more on the program. Please stay with us.